Same topic that I spoke about 2 years ago. But I don't like to repeat. Generally don't like to repeat. So the truth is, my best talk on this topic you should listen to from 2 years ago. I don't know about best, but it was, that's really what I want to say on the topic. But today, I'm addendum to that topic, a little bit of an addendum. I want to speak about freedom. After all, we're about to embark upon Zman Cherusenu. That's what the halacha has referred to as Zman Cherusenu. So 2 years ago, I gave one talk about freedom, about what freedom really is for a Jew. So this year, I want to elaborate a little bit on what I said 2 years ago and to go in some different directions. And the truth is that a lot of the different direction comes from a Haggadah written by a good friend of mine. I guess if I know I'm at the stage in life that I already have a grandson, I'm also at the stage in life where my friends are writing Haggadahs. That's like a different stage in life. Um, I haven't written a Haggadah or anything for that matter. But my friend Rabbi Ari Marcus is the Rosh Hashiva of Reisha Yerushalayim, and he wrote a beautiful Haggadah, collected really beautiful stuff. So much of what I'm going to say, not all, but much of what I'm going to say comes from Rabbi Marcus's Haggadah. Everybody here knows that we have 4 cups of wine at the Seder, and everybody probably also knows that the most major and most famous reason given for why we have 4 cups of wine at the Seder is because Hashem used 4 languages of Geula when promising to the Jewish people that they were going to be freed. V'hutzeisi, v'hitzalti, v'ga'alti, v'lakachti. 4 languages of Geula. This statement really comes out of the Yerushalmi. It's the Yerushalmi that says that the reason for the 4 cups is because of these 4 languages of Geula. However, most people are not as familiar with the fact that in the Yerushalmi, the Yerushalmi actually gives 4 reasons for why we have 4 cups of wine. There are 4 reasons in the Yerushalmi. One of them is Votseisi v'yitzalti v'ga'alti v'lakachti. And one of them, some probably already familiar with the fact, is that when Yosef was interpreting Paro's dreams, Yosef used the word kos 4 times. So because Yosef used the word kos 4 times, we have 4 kosos. We have 4 cups on Pesach. And the obvious question is, Ma inyan Yosef interpreting Paro's dreams, to Ma inyan that to the drinking 4 cups of wine at the Seder. That's certainly a glaring question. We'll get to that in a minute. The other 2 opinions in the Yerushalmi are that it's to commemorate the Daled Malchios, the 4 Malchios, right? Bavel, Paras, Umadai, Yavan, and Edom. The Chazal have that there are 4 Malchios. We're still in the galls of Edom now. There are 4 Malchios that are going to rule over the Jewish people. So the 4 cups are for the 4 Malchios. And then there's a 4th opinion there in the Yerushalmi that says that the Navi talks about that. For those who learned all of Navi will know this. I, of course, don't know this. But the Navi talks about that there are 4 cups that the nations of the world are going to drink. Kos hatare la. Cups of what's that? Okay. Cups of bewilderment. Cups of punishment that the non-Jews are going to drink. And the 4 cups are connected to 4 places in Tanakh where it refers to the nations of the world drinking cups of punishment, cups of bewilderment. So, just talking about this, the connection between Paro's dream. So perhaps we can understand a couple of answers to this question. Why is the Yerushalmi say that the 4 kosos of Paro's dream are connected to drinking 4 cups of wine on Pesach? Why should those have anything to do with each other? So certainly, I think one of the key points for us, and certainly one of the important messages of Pesach, is that Yosef at that time was in jail, in prison. Perhaps, Yosef found himself in these dark points in his life a lot of times. He was deep in a pit, and he found himself in another kind of pit. He was in jail. He was in the Beis HaSurim, and it was through this message that HaKadosh Baruch Hu threw him while he was in jail to give him the ability to answer Paro's dream that caused him to all of a sudden go mamish me'afela la'ora, from the darkest dark. Mamish, this was the event that caused a slave who was thrown in jail to be mamish elevated to the highest heights. And certainly the whole Yetzias Mitzrayim was that way to a degree also. The whole Yetzias Mitzrayim was that way as well. The whole Yetzias Mitzrayim, Klal Yisrael was on the 49th level of Tumah. We were at the lowest of the low. We were mamish holding on by a thread, holding on to our Yiddishkeit by a thread. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw to it that Yeshua, that's what Yeshuas Hashem Keherafayin, right? Yeshuas Hashem Keherafayin. And certainly one of the messages of Pesach was the way things turned around in Egypt was mamish like the way the Yad Hashem succeeded in turning everything around was totally Yeshuas Hashem Keherafayin. And a Jew has to know that as bleak as his situation is, things can turn around for a Jew in an instant. And for Yosef, they turned around in an instant. Klal Yisrael, right? Kachatzos halayla. Chazal have a whole discussion. Kachatzos halayla. It was like mamish on the moment of chatzos. In that instant, that everything changed. Makas Bechoros happened at that moment, and all of a sudden, everything changed. Klal Yisrael went out. Of course, there were a number of makos, but Klal Yisrael was mamish. Lo, 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 lo. Vahi bayom arabmeim vayomas melech mitzrayim vayonchu b'nei yisrael and avodah v'tal. All of a sudden, 210 years. Can you imagine? 210 years. If you're slaves for 210 years, you begin to think that there's no way out. It's mamish no way out. You're a slave for 210 years. There's mamish no way out. But we have to realize, for a Jew, there's no such thing as that. There's no such thing as no way out. And part of the theme of drinking 4 cups of the Pesach night to commemorate the 4 cups of Paro's dream is to realize that for a Jew, there's no such thing as no way out. And Yeshuas Hashem Keherafayin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's deliverance could always really be right around the corner. Really always has the potential to be right around the corner. Now, Rabbi Marcus in this Haggadah, he quotes a lot from his Rebbe, Rav Aaron Soloveitchik. Rav Aaron Soloveitchik, that was Rav Yosef Dova Levi Soloveitchik's brother. Most of you guys sitting here probably did not know Rav Aaron Soloveitchik. I did know Rav Aaron Soloveitchik. I used to watch Rav Aaron Soloveitchik come into yeshiva. I heard talks from Rav Aaron Soloveitchik. I was at Rav Yosef Dova Levi Soloveitchik's Levaya. There was only one hesped at Rav Yosef Dova Levi Soloveitchik's Levaya in Boston. It was given by Rav Aaron Soloveitchik, his brother. Rav Aaron Soloveitchik is a tremendous, tremendous Talmid Chacham. So he writes here in the Haggadah, but sometimes in the Haggadah it's not clear what he's saying on his own pshat, or what he's saying from his Rebbe. So I'm not sure whether this is his own pshat or from his Rebbe. I apologize. That's not about this. Forget that. This is not about his. Others say, this is not from Rabbi Marcus, I apologize. Others say that maybe it's in fact the opposite message. That Yosef HaTzadik was somebody who was on top of the world. This began Yosef being on top of the world. This is where Yosef became Yosef HaTzadik. But we have to realize that despite the fact that Yosef had success in Mitzrayim, Yosef realized that Mitzrayim was not his place. It was not his place. And maybe by calling attention to the 4 cups, of Yosef's dream, we are reminding ourselves that despite the fact that we are in Galus, despite the fact that we're very successful in Galus and we're all drinking cups like Paro drank and like the Jewish people for a long time in Mitzrayim under Yosef's leadership had a lot of success in Mitzrayim, but they knew that wasn't their place. They knew that they were still waiting for a future redemption. And maybe that's pshat in the other aspects of the Yerushalmi. That the Yerushalmi says that also it's to remember the 4 Golios and to remember the course of punishment that's going to happen to the 4 Golios. We also certainly know that one of the important themes of Pesach night is the fact that even though we are celebrating Cheres today, we are not fully free. And we're hoping for that time that we are fully free. So maybe So maybe part of the message of the four cups is also to realize that we still have a ways to go. Just like Yosef in Mitzrayim did not want to be buried in Mitzrayim and said the Atzmos Yosef had to be taken out, and even with all his success in Mitzrayim, he remembered Ivri Anochi. He's an Ivri, right? He's somebody who understood that his real place was not supposed to be in Mitzrayim despite his success. Maybe that's also one of the themes that we're thinking about over there. But the main thing I wanted to talk about in this shmooze was these four languages of Geula. Why do you need four languages? Why do you need four languages of Geula? So a lot of the Mefarshim talk about four languages, and Rabbi Marcus in his Haggadah here boils all the commentaries down to two basic approaches about four languages of Geula. Two basic approaches. Some view the four languages as four chronological stages. Maybe the Eser Makos is stage 1. The actual Yitzias Mitzrayim is stage 2. Kriyas Yamsuf might be stage 3. Matan Torah might be stage 4. So Votseisi, V'itzalti, V'ga'alti, V'lakachti, some of the Rishonim, if you look in the Sforno, he says that way. If you look in the Rabbeinu Bechaya, he says that way. That somehow they line up Votseisi, V'itzalti, V'ga'alti, V'lakachti to 4 stages in the Geula. But the Maharal and others have a different take. Meshech Chachma, and he quotes from his Rebbe Rav Aaron Soloveitchik, also have a little bit of a different take. It's not 4 time periods of Geula, because really, what's the difference between Votseisi, V'itzalti, V'ga'alti, V'lakachti? It's just four time periods. It's not 4 time periods, but it's actually 4 different facets of becoming free, and 4 different ways that a person becomes free. And you have a lot of people who are free partially, but they're not fully free. And there's different aspects of them that are free and those that aren't. And the Maharal and the Meshech Chachma, when he quotes from his Rebbe, all say in a little bit different mahalach. But I just thought it's a very important idea to stress. So let's take the Maharal l'mashal. The Maharal says, V'hotseisi means there was freedom from the physical labor. They no longer had to work. V'hotseisis, that was from the physical labor. V'itzalti, he says, from emotional oppression. Right? We know that there's physical abuse, and then there's emotional abuse. There's some people who are emotional slaves. They're emotional slaves. They're slaves of their emotions. Some people who are always stressed out. They're always stressed out. They're always down. There's always a problem. They always feel that life is filled with stress and difficulties and issues. They're mamish slaves. Nebuch, Rahman al-Islam, people are mamish slaves. They're mamish slaves to stress. They're slaves to their emotions. They can't get certain ideas out of their heads. They can't stop thinking about these negative feelings, negative thoughts, problems. And a slave certainly is somebody who is not only physically working. Forget about the physical servitude of a slave, but a slave also has a mindset that is completely, we call it the slave mentality, right? A slave mentality is never hoping to ever see the light of day. Never hoping for a time where they can rule their own emotions and rule their own thoughts. Forget about their own time. Just to get out of the stress of a mindset of being that way. And the Maharal says, Votseisi v'itzalti refers to freedom from the emotional oppression. Parent just called me just yesterday. I spent a lot of time on the phone with a parent about not even a kid from our yeshiva, but a kid who's under such emotional servitude. Lahavdil, you have like a cult, right? Cults, you can get people who are indoctrinated in certain thoughts and philosophies. They're mamish and eved of the philosophy. Indoctrinated. And yet, V'ga'alti, the Maharal says, V'ga'alti means that Klal Yisrael was going to be able to have their own, to rule over themselves, like a political independence. And then V'lakachti, of course, has to do with the commitment to the Ribono Shel Olam. The commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the ikr. That's what I spoke about really more 2 years ago. About, as I'll say, right, Ein lecha ben chorin elamisha osek b'Torah, that we don't realize that we are slaves. We are slaves to our taivas, some of us. We are slaves to our phones. I'm going to plead guilty to that. Slaves to our emails, slaves to our phones, slaves. You guys just coming back from Eretz Yisrael, so maybe, hopefully, you're not slaves to your phones, and hopefully you could survive in Chutz La'aretz here and not get back into that slavery, different kind of slavery. You know, slaves to what other people want us to be. A lot of people are slaves to what everybody else wants them to be, what everybody else expects of them, the expectations of friends and peers. Slavery to all kinds of things. And on Pesach, Hashem promised us complete freedom. It's interesting. The Gemara Kedusha, we're learning Kedusha this year. So I said before, Ein lecha ben chorin l'mi shosek b'Torah. True freedom is only someone who studies Torah. The Gemara also says Kedushin barasi Yetzer Hara barasi Torah Tavlin. The Gemara says a lot of people are slaves to the Yetzer Hara. Mamish the Yetzer Hara takes hold of them in so many different areas. The Gemara says barasi Yetzer Hara barasi Torah Tavlin. The study of Torah is ben chorin because the study of Torah frees a person from the shackles of the Yetzer Hara, like the Gemara says. Because when you're Meshubah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when you allow, the more a person studies Torah and gets closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the more a person feels that closeness to Torah and mitzvos, the less urges and desires he has for his Yetzer Hara. You can train yourself. It's really incredible. It's really incredible. Guys coming back from Eretz Yisrael, you can train yourself through the study of Torah, through the performance of mitzvos to achieve higher and higher levels. That Yemamish, Barasi, that's the Pshuta Kamashmo, Barasi Yetzer Hara, Barasi Torah Tavlin. I heard from Nassim Tzvi Finkel, spoke to NCSY Kolo like 18 years ago, and he said it's Dafka the Simchas HaTorah. It's the Simchas HaTorah that the Yetzer Hara sees that he has no power over. Oh boy, I'm a little late. He quotes in here from Nagada from the Ishbitzer. Two things, especially about guys coming back from Eretz Yisrael. Two final points. But we're all coming back from Eretz Yisrael. I like to say all the time, I feel like I just came back from Eretz Yisrael. The excitement and learning that I have nowadays, I'm still living off my years in Eretz Yisrael. I'm still living off the excitement that I had then. Mamish. I mamish feel that way. At the experience that I had then, any excitement and energy and mamish passion for Limud HaTorah that I have today, Baruch Hashem, I still have some. So Imamish comes off very close. Just two final thoughts about this. You all know that the Gemara in Pesachim talks about how the mitzvah of Heseba reclining only applies to the first two cups or the second two cups. The Gemara says, Meikar Adin. The Gemara has a dispute. The Gemara is not sure whether or not you're supposed to recline only on the first two or the second two. So the Gemara famously says, and now that we don't know, so we do by all four. Everybody asks the Kasha, what kind of business is that? Safek D'Rabban L'Kula. What's the deal with the first two? But the Ishbitzer, Rabbi Marcus quotes in the Haggadah here from the Ishbitzer, he quotes, what's the whole story about the first two and the last two? What's the whole deal? You know, the Gemara says, well, in the first two, the Svar that says to the first two is that's really when the Ikar Chayos is happening. By the last two, Maida Hava Hava. Maida Hava. It's already over. What, it was just 5 minutes ago. It's already over, so you can't recline anymore? It was just a few. Maida Hava Hava. And what's the other sheet? The other sheet, in the beginning, you're not fully free yet. Only by the end, you're really fully free. Very, very strange. So therefore, you're only going to recline by the beginning? I mean, so listen to a beautiful pshat from the Ishbitzer. It says a beautiful, beautiful pshat. He says that there's two different ways that a person has freedom. Two different ways that a person has right when, let's say a person's been like in a terrible situation for a long time, and right away all of a sudden he gets out of it. All of a sudden he gets excited. So it's a plus and a minus. It's a plus and a minus. It's What's a plus and a minus? What's the plus and a minus?
Should have 20 minutes.
What's a plus and a minus?
The test. Thank you.
It's a plus because you're so excited because you just felt it. Your mom is so excited. But it's a minus because you still feel a lot of that. You still feel a lot of that pressure. You still feel it. You just had it, but you're not totally relieved of it because, like they say about the Holocaust, that when the people, like right away when they first experienced the freedom, so it's almost like it was so like surreal to them. On the one hand, can you imagine what the horrors that they saw, and they were just free from it, but they couldn't like fully enjoy it because they still had the years of torture that you can't just shift gears like that and go right away to fully experience it. It took a long time later till they could fully appreciate the cherus. And at the same time, in the other way, a long time later, you don't experience how exciting it is because only right away is it really exciting to you. But a long time later, you get used to it, so it's not that exciting anymore. So there's a plus and a minus. And I was thinking about maybe it's the difference between the Shana Aleph guy coming back for Pesach and the Shana Bet guy coming back for Pesach. I wanted to say, at least I can only speak about my own experience. I remember like Shana Aleph coming back for Pesach was miserable. It was a misery, Shana Aleph, because the whole experience was so fresh. The whole getting into learning was so fresh that it doesn't stick so well. Doesn't stick so well, and then you're all of a sudden for the first time you're like tempted with all the whole Bein Hazmanim with no seder and no. Again, don't let your minds run away with you too much. I wasn't so terrible, my Shana. I wasn't so bad, but let's just say I didn't live up to the standards that I wanted to live up to. My Shana Aleph Pesach, I had all kinds of plans and goals. What was going to happen the first Pesach vacation? And let's just say I didn't live up to what. And Shana Bet, once the learning has a chance to I always say it's between Shana Aleph and Shana Bet. Shana Aleph for me, Shana Aleph was like learning was a trip. It was like exciting. Shana Bet is like now learning becomes really enjoyable. So I think that's a little bit what the Ishbitzer is hinting at over here about the two aspects of Cheres. Why one opinion the Gemara says you recline by the first two kosos, and one opinion by the last two kosos. One opinion is the first two kosos. It's more exciting, but it's not fully vested yet. It's not fully mature yet. The Cheres is not fully appreciated. It's exciting, but not fully appreciated. But the second kosos, by that time where we're celebrating already, we've been free for a while. So then the freedom and the Cheres had a chance to vest, had a chance to be appreciated, and so of course, what are we pasking? You got to do both. So on Pesach night, we recline by both. We celebrate both aspects. We celebrate the hischadshus of the excitement of the Cheres, but we also celebrate the fact that we had a chance to appreciate and mature with the Cheres, that we don't still feel a shtickle like Avadim, we don't still feel. And just one last point, he says very, very beautifully in this Haggadah, I'll close with this, and this is one of the things, I'm not sure he's quoting from his Rebbe or it's his own Chiddush, but it's very, very beautiful, right? Some people have a taina on the Hatikva. I better be careful if I'm speaking a little, but some people have a taina. It says in the Hatikva, Lios am chavshi baratzeno. There's a lot of people who don't like that, don't like the word chavshi, because there's a difference between cherus and chavshi, chofesh. That's okay, you can leave it on. I'm not afraid. It's okay. There's a difference between chavshi and cherus. Chofesh is the type of freedom that we were talking about before. Right? People think freedom, right? In America, what does freedom mean? Freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want, to whoever I want. I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want. I can do. That's what people think freedom. That's chavshi, chofesh, right? But cherus means ein lecha ben chorin al mi she'osek pator. So Lizzie said very beautiful. The etymology of the word chofesh and cherus, he wants to suggest, he doesn't quote anybody. I don't know if he's quoting from Avraham Soloveitchik or it's his own pshat. Listen to this. Chofesh comes from the word lechapes, to look. You're searching. People think they're chavshi. People think when you're chavshi in that way, well, if you think chavshi means you could just do whatever you want, whenever you want, you're going to be someone who's searching and searching and searching and searching, and you're never going to find menucha, because if there's no standards and no ability to rein yourself in, you're going to be searching and searching and searching. You're never going to find any kind of mahalach in life, because you're just going from one Yetzer Hara to the next Yetzer Hara to the next Yetzer Hara to the next ism, from slavery to your Yitzhar, to slavery to your cell phone, to slavery to this thing, to. But if you, what is the word cherus? What does that word come from? As we know, the Chazal say, "Al tikrei cherus el chorus." Chorus means engraved, engraved. So he wants to suggest that a person who's a ben chorin because he's an Eved Hashem, he trades in, like Rav Soloveitchik said, he trades in a transient freedom for a real freedom at a higher level of freedom to be a ben chorin, to be free, to be chorus to his neshama, that's chorus, that's engraved. That's not chapes, that's not somebody who looks around. That cherus is related to the word chorus. That cherus sticks with a person. That cherus becomes engraved on a person. Kasve maluach libecha. A person who's a ben chorin she'oseh b'Torah, he's someone who has a mahalach in life. He has, right. He knows. He always submits to a higher authority. He has a mahalach. That's true freedom. Then ayin, my speech on freedom from 2 years ago, where we talked a lot about that. So I'm sorry I went over time. You could just blame it on Simcha. But I apologize. But Bez Hashem, it's really great to see so many guys back for Pesach, and I hope that it's a truly Zman Cheruseinu. Chazal say that it's a big time during these days to pick up on this midah of cherus, both the initial cherus, the initial feelings of excitement, as opposed to the vested, tried, tested and tried cherus. And hopefully we should come to that day where we'll all be able to have cherus b'nisan igalu avoseinu b'nisan asidin li'yigal. We should come to that final kos hatarela, where the Goyim will have to finally drink that last bitter cup, which will lead to us drinking the kos Yeshuos. May that day come from here.